I also think it's ridiculous to think that anybody is truly going to take AOC seriously if she gets out there and tries to run. Again, she's popular.
No, she's ridiculous.
Yeah, she's an influencer. She's a very popular influencer, but in terms of being a public servant, a leader, somebody to gravitate to,
she's ridiculous.
Mamdani has already taken all of her fire away from her. Already, it's already gone.
And you want to talk about a politician with charisma.
Oh yeah,
Mamdani, and I hate his politics, as you would expect. His charisma is off the charts.
Yeah, but he can't.
But I will say that this about him. Now, he's obviously not qualified to run for president, being that he wasn't born here and so on and so forth. But he can argue.
But neither was Obama, so who cares, right?
Okay, look, we can argue about this another day. But the point is I find him
call me out like that.
Regardless of his politics, he's extremely capable and competent of an individual, and he does seem that he's going to do a good job, at least running the office and doing that job. Whereas Alex does not strike me as a chief executive at all.
Yeah, well, I have no idea if Mamdani is actually a capable human being in terms of like running a government, but I'm not even convinced that mayors or presidents run anything.
Well, there's that. So. But I actually think that we need to at least give him some time and see what he does before we make all of our judgments about him.
Since you brought that up, and since you're here, then we're going to have to play this. This is what Mamdani has done so far since he's been elected mayor. This might surprise you.
Watch CBS or any of the mainstream media outlets, you would not know that on day one of Zohran's mayoral term, he demoted Jessica Tisch. And we're going to get to this, but there's also like 5 huge things that he did that they're also not telling you because they want to minimize and obstruct his mayoral term as much as possible. Because if he's successful, it's really a sort of lambast at all establishment politics, Democrat and Republican. So let's get into it. The first thing he did is the prior executive order, which revokes all orders after September 26, 2024. So basically, anything that Mayor Adams did, and he also walked back the previous mayoral's pledge of allegiance to Israel.
I mean, that alone, as far as I'm concerned, is a huge step in the right direction, because whether you are liberal or conservative, it sends a message to any, like, let's say, libertarian-minded conservative in different parts of the heartland, the South, the upper Midwest, that are thinking about running for mayor of a mid-sized city or even a county-wide mayor situation. If you're trying to do the inverse of like a Daniela Levine Cava, that is that you look at Mamdani and say, oh, I could run in this city and say I'm against Israel and I could get elected. And that alone creates that narrative. Remember, the other thing, I'll believe it when I see it. But the thing that Mamdani, I didn't even see that.
It's the thing where people are upset that he's going to force them to use Arabic numerals in school. When
that's Jacob Berger, who was doing those videos on the
right. Oh my God, not the Arabic numerals.
So basically, the thing that he said during the campaign about, let's say like a month ago, that I said to Jen, I said, if he does this, he's going to get killed. He said, when I get into the mayor's office, I'm going to cancel the city contracts with Israel. And I said, all right, well, if he goes down that road, and that's annually in New York City alone, it's like $14 billion a year. So if he fucks with that, then he's not only for real, but he's made his peace with God that they are going to probably try to take him out. Yeah. I mean, you got Bill Ackman. You saw what Ackman said the other day. He is declaring war on the Jews.
Well, and you know why he said that? Because Mamdani decided to basically throw out the IHRA or whatever definition of anti-Semitism in terms of how they're going to regulate speech in New York City. I'm like wait. So you need hate speech laws for Jewish people, otherwise it's a declaration of war on you, Bill Ackman? Like what are we even talking about? So look, as I said, economically, Mamdani and I are miles apart. I am rooting for him to demonstrate courage when it comes to Israeli influence in our politics, and for him to do it in New York, which has a very sizable Jewish population, but more importantly, a very influential Jewish population. It will speak volumes if he can actually succeed.
Exactly.
I am just not tremendously confident that he can succeed with his economic policies. So this will be a good test for you two and I. Can he actually prevail pushing very aggressively populist left policies. I am of the opinion that when you start to talk about property rights as if they're secondary and say how, home ownership and landlords are all indicative of white supremacy, which is one of his underlings was talking like that. I'm like, man, if I was a billionaire in New York City, I'd be getting the F out of there. And if you see a total, exodus of all of the wealthy people, good luck keeping your financial reservoir intact to actually maintain the large social safety net that you envision.
Now, I will push back ever so slightly for this reason, because you and I are both investors and I'm in the commercial real estate, multifamily side of business. And I will tell you that the one thing I do agree with Mamdani on when he talks about that is you're talking about a substantial portion. And again, most of them are Jewish Zionists. Everyone knows that own these buildings. These guys are fucking slumlords. They treat their tenants like they don't mean anything, like they're cockroaches. Yep. They treat it like a cockroach infested building pre-war, whenever it was constructed. And
they
that
treat
is
them
exactly,
like Gazans.
Exactly. 1,000%. So it's a natural inclination to see it swing in the direction of a communist style response when you have people at the very top that are fucking it up for everybody who wants to earn an honest living. And that to me is a huge part of why this is happening. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, no disagreement as to why we're heading that direction. I just think that the solution is different. So
can I also just clarify that he really didn't demote Tish as much as now she's reporting to somebody in between them.
Well,
she's reporting to the deputy mayor instead of directly to him. So, I mean, they're saying it's a demotion. I don't know if that really is, or he did that to sort of placate the people that are annoyed that he kept her in the first place.
This is the problem with judging, in the early weeks and months of any term, is that if you were to ask me in February of this past year how I feel about Trump's second presidency, be like, well, they froze USAID and they did this and they're shutting down the Department of Education and blah, blah. And then what did it actually end up being? USAID got rolled into the State Department and put directly under Marco Rubio. And now foreign aid, instead of going to USAID, just goes directly to governments all over the world. And it's like, that's not really actually remedying the issues that I'd like to see remedied. So I think that'll be the test for Mamdani. It's very easy to have executive actions in the early hours after you take power. Do you have the wherewithal, the strength, the fortitude to maintain that posture for years as the lobbyists and the journos and the billionaires start to run attacks against you from left, right, and center? He's up against a lot, so we'll see.
Yeah.
The first of these was a restriction on Israeli boycotts in the city. The second one was basically that any criticism of Israel, Israeli policies, the genocide, Palestinian advocacy could be seen as anti-Semitism. So now those, gone. The next one, big, mayor's office structure and operations, establishing the cabinet and specialized offices for economic justice and pro bono legal aid. Huge for a city of relatively impoverished working class people that are constantly attacked by the police and various other things, especially bad landlords. Speaking of, revitalizing the mayor's office to protect tenants, establishing an office to coordinate tenants' rights and improve housing quality. Literally, instead of like hoo-hawing around and parading and stuff after his inauguration, the first thing he did was go to a tenant's house in Brooklyn that was suffering from a terrible landlord in terrible living conditions. So it's clear that a huge part of his mayoral term is going to be about protecting tenants from shitty landlords and, number 4, leveraging city-owned land to accelerate housing. He's establishing a task force to identify sites for 25,000 new units. Sorry, I'm talking fast. I'm kind of excited. And the last and final of the housing is improving process to accelerate affordable housing development. So a new task force streamlining the permitting process to expedite housing production. All huge, we can all great. All.
I also want to say, as a multifamily investor, I totally agree with this, because you have guys like this that F it up for the honest operators like myself who are trying to make sure that my tenants are taken care of, because if they're happy, then my investment is doing well. And the people that don't treat it that way are terrible. And you know who else really thinks like that, Clint? You have all of those gurus out there led by Cardone who fuck it up for everybody who's trying to run an honest show. So again, it's understandable. I don't want it to become a communist situation, but to his credit, He's at least doing something to try to help people. And that's more than you could say for any of the mayors, that includes de Blasio, that have done for the city of New York for the past several decades. In fact, you probably have to go all the way back. I guess you got to go back to, I don't know how far back you got to go. Maybe to LaGuardia for all I know. But New York's been like this for a long time.
Well, if you're going to offer pro bono legal aid to all the millions of people that live there, that's crazy. But I will say bullet point number 5, I absolutely love as a developer myself back in San Diego. I don't, for the life of me, I never understood why, Democrats or leftists in California weren't outraged at. It's like, I think this has always been my critique of the left, is that they cannot extract. I'm not saying you guys, but I'm saying many on the left do not extrapolate that regulations and taxes and processing fees and all gets passed on to the consumer. Like, that's why housing is so astronomically expensive in California and New York and most Democrat ran states. And I don't know why that it's always been that paradigm, but like, if Mamdani successfully changes that and increases housing inventory and drives down rent rates and housing costs in New York, awesome. I mean, that it should have been done by a right winger, but if it's a lefty that does it, then awesome.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about, we shouldn't be having all these wars. And if it's somebody like Thomas Massie on the right that's getting us out of all of our involvement in these wars and not the left, then so be it. I guess we're just swapping sides. Yeah.
Exactly. It should have been the left. It ain't. So
yes,
let's go with the right.
Exactly.
All amazing signals about what his mayoral term is going to look like. Now we get to Tish. Hidden within the executive orders is a change in the structure of the mayor's office. So now he's the commissioner's not going to report to Zohran anymore. It's effectively like a downgrade of her position. She's going to be talking to the deputy mayor. And if you don't know who Jessica Tish is, not only is she the one that ruined my previous business, she's also the person that basically brought the modern surveillance state to New York and then eventually exported it to the entire country. Huge Zionist. Also comes from the Tish family, the 6th or 7th richest family in America. So at this point, I'm sure that we can expect a lot of weird hit pieces in the New York Post that are sponsored by the New York City Police Commissioner or the NYPD because they're pissed about it.
I'm still not thinking that that's an actual demotion, but whatever.
TBD.
All I know is that
TBD.
all I know is there's not a lot to hang our hats on right now in the electoral arena. But heck, if it's a guy like Mamdani, who is an avowed socialist, hey, you know what? Whatever positivity we can take right now, I'm taking it, especially in a place like New York, where if you can bring the Zio state to its knees, you can break them across the entire country.